Hello, my name's James. I'm a portrait photographer from Portsmouth in the UK. You've probably not heard of me, and I welcome you to this, our latest video on the Portrait of a Wrestler YouTube channel, where we're taking you back into a deep dive into portfolio reviews. One of the first people to come forward for a portfolio review a month ago was someone by the name of Dale Brodie. Dale is a UK-based photographer out of London who shoots a lot of wrestling in and around Bethnal Green and the Eve scene there. I want to thank him for his submission of work for us to look at here and to critique and to review. We're going to have a look down here at the Instagram profile. Fairly clean images, a lot of variety in here, so showcasing a lot of different styles, some flash stuff with regards to studio work, some ringside stuff. Sick image there of Mercedes Martinez. Oh, look at this for timing there for Ginny. For Ginny with Session with Martina, sorry, with the spit face there into Debbie Keitel. Debbie, I've never photographed. One day, who knows? But what we're going to do is we're going to have a look at the images that he submitted for review here, starting off with this image here of Laura Di Matteo on the big entrance. Laura with a cool looking hoodie there with the cut-off arms, these rainbow coloured socks actually kept in shot there by the photographer, which is really key to Laura's personality and character here. What I would say about this image, I love the moment, love the expression, love the way that she's on that 1 foot, love the way that she's really caught in the moment. There's nothing artificial about the expression here. Everything feels natural, feels energetic, and feels live. It's a really cool shot with that in mind. Technically, some of the skin tones are slightly overexposed because of that backlighting. The backlighting really helps this image because everything's so bright in the middle. It really draws our eye to the subject matter in the middle, and it's a symmetrical image as well, so that's all helping in unison together. But because that backlight is hard for us to control on the exposure, it's just caught like the abdomen here, it's caught a little bit of the arm here, and most importantly, it's caught half of the face there. It's all overexposed and all out of whites. There's just a little bit of control either in post-processing or just a little bit of control when shooting with regards to your exposure values. Although it's a symmetrical shot as well, I like the fact that we can see a lot of the scene, but I don't think we can see enough of it. We've got half a name on this side here and half a name on this side here, although we can patch the two together to make the name. It'd be nice if we were a little bit wider to see that. Similarly, it'd be nice if we were a little bit wider because maybe there might have been some arms down in here on this right-hand side as we look at it that would match the arms that we see on this side. So although we've got people cheering here, we haven't got anyone cheering here, which isn't help balancing it up. With regards to a little bit of tidying up in the background as well, I think maybe we could just crop below this rigging that's right at the top here, this rigging here, leading over to the rigging on the other side here as well. And similarly, this little light here, it's not on, it's just there, and it's just leading to a little bit of imbalance in the background, so maybe just take that out as well. But a real strong event shot, real strong live event shot, I like that one a lot. Next one here, real intense in here. There's another photographer there in the background, the very talented Mr. Rob Brazier there in the background. And there's a real lovely moment here actually. It's like this moment before the wrestling match, the moment before everything kicks off, the moment before we're actually sort of like trying to work each other out. A little bit of backlight here has allowed us to catch a little bit of hair light on the top of their hair here and a little bit of hair light on the top of their hair there. Because of that backlight, the backlighting can lead us to sort of like real mood-driven lighting. And I'm not sure the colours in this image are strong enough to warrant not going to a black and white conversion. And I think the backlighting and the grimy and the gritty atmosphere would really help with a black and white conversion. Maybe just have a look at that and just see if you get a slightly more gritty, more rustic, more punky feel to that shot there. Love the framing of Chris Hatch, the referee, in the middle here. If it could just have been a little bit more to the left-hand side so that this hand doesn't blend into this hand here, then we would have had an absolute perfect composition of the referee waiting on. The exposure on the people in the background is just enough to give us that feeling that they're being watched and the feeling of crowd influence in there as well. So I actually really like that. I think that's really cool. I just think potentially something to look at there. Just have a look at have a look at that black and white conversion and just see if you can get a slightly stronger image out of it there. These little bits of wires here, and here and here. Keep the rigging, but this little wire here particularly, just a little bit distracting there. So just take that out and they have like a really, really strong image there. Love that. Good, proper feel of what Eve's about there with that shot there as well. Session Moth, we mentioned Session Moth accidentally before. Now we're mentioning her on purpose. She's drinking a decent lager there. I can't believe that for a second. Looks like something German. So a very simple black and white conversion here. And we've got it turned towards the light on our left-hand side as we look at it. With this, when subjects are turned and looking off camera, it's often quite a good thing to leave a little bit more negative space to really give that impression as to where they're looking to. Now, we in the Western culture read everything left to right as we read scripts or writing or anything like that. Everything's from the left to the right. So naturally, our eye sort of goes that way. So you'll find with these looking off camera shots that typically if they're looking from the left off to the right, our eyesight sort of like has a more natural narrative to sort of work towards that. And this is working against it because she's looking the other way to the way that we would naturally read. I hope that makes a little bit of sense. I think I've kind of made it sound more complicated than it is. That being said, let me just bring up a little crop tool here. This should work. I think the real interest in the picture is here. So when you bring that crop around there with the leopard print of the top and the necklace and the hair and the arm coming up and leading you round to the eyes, potentially a different crop might help this, because I think everything else around it is kind of dead space. When we look at this, we look at the arm sort of down here is sort of going down into nothing really. We're cropped at the waist, which is neither high nor low. It's somewhere in between, and I'm not sure it's doing anything. And I think all of the really interesting stuff around this picture is all around here. It's all based around that. So maybe just have a look at a recrop there. I kind of like the black and white conversion. I don't know until I see it in colour whether colour would have been better. I'm guessing because I know the colour that Session Moth tends to wear to the ring that maybe it potentially would have been. And maybe as well with regards to expression, when you're doing portraits, it's very easy to come up with an idea and tell the subject exactly what to do. So in this instance, it would be just bring the can up to your lips as if you're about to drink it, turn your eyes away and just look over there somewhere. And sometimes with character portraits, you almost want to get a bit more of a narrative and a bit more energy and a bit more of an idea in their head. So you want to sort of like almost say something that I would do with Moth that I've done with Moth quite a lot in the past is I'll sort of give her an idea of sort of like, imagine like this is the 20th can of beer that you're drunk and you're absolutely smashed, or imagine this is your last can of beer and that you're already savouring it, or just take the biggest gulp and swig as if you're sort of partying like really, really hard at this point, and you just get that idea and you get a little bit more. So the photo looks less like the subject is being told exactly how to behave pose for pose, but is just giving them an idea. So do this as if this is quite a good question to give a subject, if that makes sense. So swig that beer like it's the last beer, it's the last beer at the party, or the first beer at the party, or something like that, and then you'll get, and then it's a two-way street, and the subject can work with you as a photographer. Good mood to this one. It's got this sort of art school sort of feel to it in terms of the tonality, in terms of those sort of like those sullen blacks in there. Good marriage of the lipstick makeup with the headdress there. It looks on my screen, and I apologise for this, it just looks a little soft around the eyes, so make sure your focus point is bang on those eyes. Those eyes need just a tiny little bit more brightening, just for me, just a little bit more. The catch lights, and by that I mean the white reflections in the eyes from the lights are fine, but it looks like we're on a very narrow depth of field and we've just focused on this far eye rather than the near side eye, and we're always trying to capture that near side eye first, because that's the first eye that we see naturally when we're looking at a portrait. But with regards to lightening those eyes, I kind of like the whites the tones there are fine in terms of their tonality. The catch lights could maybe do with a bit of a pop, but I really think that brown really needs to come out, because if you've got really brown eyes, it's going to marry up perfectly with the lipstick and with the hair and with everything that you've chosen to showcase in this tonal range. by also using her black top as well to not work against it. It's gone very deep into the blacks here, down the side of the cheek, just on this side here. So maybe just a little bit something there, just to either go one or the other in terms of really bringing that into deep darks and going high contrast, or bring a reflector in there just to pop a little bit of light back up in there. Not sure again, like maybe even like a tighter crop, have a little bit of a play with it, because we're kind of like moving on from the session moth one we just saw. We're kind of neither one way or the other with the crop here. Just below the point of the hair, but is all of this down here necessary? Could we have seen more of it with the decoration? It's like we've started to see the decoration at the top, but we're not seeing the whole decoration. But a good mood to that one, nice mood, nice story in that one, and good control. So yeah, just make sure we're focusing on that near side eye. What a moment. Look at this expression up here. What a great expression that is. And this is where your positioning ringside has really helped as well. You're at the right position to get this expression. You could be one side or the other for this picture. If you're on the far side, you're going to get the expression of the two girls who are in this hold, which is where Sarah, I believe, is down here capturing that one, which is really cool. But you've really made her look strong. You've made her look powerful. She's central. There's a natural triangle going on in there. There's narrative from the referee on this side. Maybe want to see a little bit more of that referee. I don't know. Maybe just come out a little bit wider on that. Be nice if there was a bit more fan interaction in the background, which there isn't, that you have no control over. And just watch these white tones. Again, we're just straying towards white up here. The lights or the white balance has led to a very yellowy cast over the whole thing, which I neither mind nor don't mind, just letting you know that it's there. Something strong like this with that up lighting, with that lighting that's very high, shining straight down, as we said with the first ringside shot that we saw. Check out a black and white conversion, make it look grimy, and just have a look at it again, because you've got a real natural shape going on here with the pose, real natural triangle. It works really well. Viper. This looks like the same show. Looks like York Hall, I'm guessing, in London. Just across the road from the Resistance Gallery. Nice moment, and I can sympathise with this moment because I know, or sorry, empathise with this moment because I know when it was taken and what it meant to the girls involved in the match, if it is the match I'm thinking of. Nice look up. Good capturing of all of this out here. But what I would say is, a few of these pop lights, like the fire exit lights and everything, although they match in with the green, are just a little bit distracting because they're very bright. This is super bright here, and I know it's a spotlight, but it's not really giving us a direction on that light. It's just a kind of like a bright blob in the background, so it is a little distracting. Couple of fans up here, but unfortunately that balcony isn't filled, so we're not really telling a story of either isolating the subject with no crowd there at all, so we're really focused on the subject, or having the subject with a backdrop of loads of people. It's kind of halfway between the two. The main distracting element here, though, is the referee's arm just down the side here, and an elbow, I believe, possibly of an opponent here as well. And it's a shame that's there, because if that wasn't there, then you'd have this lovely moment of her just taking this moment and taking this moment in and looking at everyone. Be careful of those highlights on the face. You're just straying into white, just there. Get a bit more control. Bring those sliders down when you're processing raw. Bring those white sliders down. Bring those highlight sliders down and bring all those highlights back in. Next shot here. Oh, Giselle. Giselle's caught you. That's great. It really is. That's lovely. It's great when that happens. I like that. And they can see you at the Resistance, because I know on this side of the ring you've got about, what, this much space between you and the wall. So you're stood up on the ring apron, and there's not a lot going on there. But it really doesn't matter about Rebel Kenny in the front here. It doesn't, you know, like I said, this is all about this arch. It's all about this look and this real determined, aggressive look from Giselle Shaw straight into the camera. So that's lovely. Love the subtle decoration in the background. Again, I love the highlight that you're working on here. I've got a couple of distracting elements in the crowd here that could just be toned down. This one here and this one here. And you'll find that crowd all of a sudden will blend into a crowd altogether. Just try and lighten up the sides here and lighten up the sides here. Now, the only other thing I've noticed to really point out is the hand over here. Instinctively, technical side of my brain's going, that's a distraction. creative side of my brain's going, well, why is it there? And who's it belong to? And what's going on? I like it. I just think it needed to be closer. And again, it's not a thing that you can control. If it was closer, or if there was, you have to question what the narrative of that hand is. So if Rebel Kinney's looking out to the referee, to the hand, to sort of say no, or to say yes, or to say help me, then that hand has a place. And if it's closer to the action, it has a place. I think it's just out for me. And I think without it, I think we might just have a little bit of a stronger image. But I like its inclusion because it does ask questions. It's a great shot here. Good mood. Quite a low light. So our lighting is quite low on this. We can see this due to the highlights just sort of underneath the nose here, the highlights underneath all these lower parts of your face that sort of point down. If they start getting hit first with light, they go a little bit brighter than everything else. Very fine attention to detail. We can just see, I know this is only tiny, it's pixels, we can just see her eyelashes on the other side. Just get rid of those so we've got a nice clean profile. Have a little tidy up of these little strands of hair here, a little tidy up of those little bits there. But again, and I'm going to go back to this, I appreciate why we've kept everything down on here. We've got the marking on the gear and all that and all that. I think potentially the crop just needs to just come out here just a little bit more, just to give us even space on either side. Okay, just a little bit of even space on either side. Or is and I know we want to keep down here because of the gear, I know why, but I think the real interesting part of the shot is somewhere up here. Some link between the tattoos on the arm, the hair and the lines, and the face and the makeup and the paint. And just by bringing that arm potentially just round like this, just in there, and having a nice profile shot going here, makes more of this tattoo, and it joins everything up and creates a shape. Photography, essentially, when you look at the most dynamic pictures, is all about shapes, whether it's a Fibonacci wheel or just a simple triangle. What shape are we creating with this image? Is there a shape in this image? There's interest in this image because it's an interesting subject. We've chosen interesting lighting. We've chosen an interesting post-processing technique. But could we have made it more interesting potentially by just working with a bit more of a shape and less of this up and down? I don't know. Last image here. That's strong. Strong image obviously has to stay in colour. There's no choice. There's no other option there. Because there's so much colour unison there that's working really, really well together. Tidy up these little bits just around about the side of the legs. Have a little bit of a tidy up there. Those little threads need to go. I think the lighting for this one is a little flat. When you find you're working with darker skin absorbs light way better than like Caucasian skin like my skin would. My skin's all very reflective. You get like loads of hot spots and all that kind of stuff. You have so much more range with darker skin to work with in terms of getting tonality out of it and creating shape. And there's so much interest up here in terms of the choice of neckwear, the choice of earrings, the choice of makeup, the choice of eyeshadow, the choice of everything. And I think your lights are just a little bit too far away just in this one. And I think we've chosen, it looks like a flat setup. So it looks like we've got like a main light and then two fill lights, one below and one above. And what that's done is it's just combined all of the light together just to give us really, really flat lighting across the whole scene. And I don't think this subject matter really benefits from flat lighting. I think you've got so much in there, so much depth, so much tonality that we potentially could get a little bit more out of this subject and a little bit more. Cropping's good, just a little bit wider on either side, give it room to breathe. It's a great subject matter. The initial feeling I get is one of dominance, one of absolute superiority, a real good character coming across. So you've done that perfectly. Just think a little bit more invention in the lighting, and let's try and do something a little bit different there. So thank you very much to Dale for sending in your images to me. I hope you found that review helpful, and I hope everyone else who tuned in did as well. If you like the work, give Dale a follow on his Instagram channel and leave him a little bit of love in the comments below. You can subscribe to our channel. We're over 1,000 subscribers now, which is really cool and I'm very, very proud of. Like this video and share it around. If you are a photographer who would like a portfolio review, you can get one. Email portraitofaWrestler@gmail.com. During lockdown, we are doing complimentary portfolio reviews, and it doesn't have to be of wrestling photography, it can be any sort of photography that you wish. You can follow me on the Instagram and the Twitter. It's Y2JimBob. Portrait of a Wrestler everywhere else. Go to the store and buy something if you'd like to support us during this time, or just subscribe and share and leave a nice comment if you can't financially do so. It's a tough time for everyone. And as ever, all the very best.